because I knew from my sources they were trying to keep you guys out.
They did.
They did keep you out.
And look, here's how
time matters in an investigation.
The first 48 hours of anyone's disappearance are the most critical. And here's how these cases works. It is a state matter. It's a state and local law enforcement matter. What we, the FBI, do is say, hey, we're here to help. What do you need? What can we do? And for 4 days, we were kept out of the investigation. And when we were finally let in, Sean, look what we did. We went in and got the Ring doorbell. And we said, hey, is anyone talking to Google? I called the leadership at Google and I said, look, we know that there was not a subscription service to capture all of the data that would have been captured had there been a subscription service. But can we go into the cache? Can we go into the data before it's deleted and see what we can find? That's why you have that image, because the FBI worked with Google to put that image out. Another thing we asked to do.
You guys got that tape, which was the biggest breakthrough during that case.
Something went wrong in the earliest hours of this case, and the consequences may still be unfolding right now. Because when a person vanishes without a trace, investigators will tell you there's a window, small, unforgiving, and critical. The first 48 hours. That's when evidence is fresh. That's when witnesses remember clearly. That's when digital trails are still intact. And once that window closes, you don't get it back. In the case of Nancy Guthrie, that window may have slipped away. Not because no one was looking, but because the right resources may not have been brought in soon enough. According to multiple reports, the FBI was not formally invited into the investigation until day 4. Day 4. Now, on paper, that might not sound like a major delay, but in real-world investigations, it can be everything. Because by that point, the most valuable time, the first 48 hours, was already gone. And experts are clear about this. You can recover from many things in an investigation, but lost time? That's one of the hardest to overcome, because during those early hours, critical evidence may have still been available. Surveillance footage that hadn't been overwritten, digital data that hadn't been lost or corrupted, witness accounts that were still sharp and immediate. And according to what hasn't come out, federal investigators believe they could have accessed some of that data earlier, especially footage from nearby devices like Ring cameras. Footage that may have captured movement, patterns, possibly even the suspect. But by the time that level of coordination began, some of that opportunity may have already passed. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean nothing was done. Local authorities were working the case, responding, processing the scene, following initial leads. But the question many are now asking is whether the scale of the response matched the seriousness of what had happened. Because this wasn't a routine missing person case. Not from the beginning. And as more details came to light, the complexity only grew. One of the most significant breakthroughs came later, when the FBI worked with Google to recover cache data from devices linked to the area. Even without an active subscription, they were able to retrieve stored information. And that led to something critical. Images. Footage. The emergence of what is now widely referred to as the porch guy. An unidentified individual captured on camera, moving with purpose, becoming almost instantly one of the most important pieces of evidence in the entire case. And yet even that raises more questions. Because if that data could be recovered later, what might have been available earlier? Clearer images, longer sequences, additional angles, possibly even a full timeline of movement. Those are the kinds of opportunities that exist in the first 48 hours. And once they're gone, they're gone. Then there's the issue of DNA. Another point of tension in this investigation. Instead of being sent directly to the FBI's lab in Quantico, key DNA evidence was initially processed through a private lab in Florida. Now, private labs are not uncommon. They can be effective. But in this case, the decision has been criticized because federal investigators reportedly believed that sending the evidence to Quantico could have accelerated analysis and improved coordination. Instead, the process became slower, more fragmented, and in a case where time already mattered, that delay added pressure. Behind all of this, there appears to be something deeper, a struggle over control, because the case remained under the authority of the local sheriff's office. And while the FBI offered support, resources, and expertise, they could not fully take over. That created limits, boundaries, and, according to some accounts, tension. Moments where information wasn't shared as quickly as it could have been, where coordination wasn't as smooth as it needed to be. And when multiple agencies are involved in a high-stakes case, communication isn't just important. It's everything, because when it breaks down, so does the investigation. Some have even described what happened as cracks forming early, cracks that widened over time, not because of lack of effort, but because of misalignment, leadership differences, competing approaches, and possibly ego. Now layer that onto the decisions made at the scene itself. The questions have been raised about how the crime scene was handled in those early hours, whether it was secured tightly enough, whether every possible piece of evidence was preserved, and whether search efforts were scaled appropriately from the start. Some reports suggest that broader searches were stopped earlier than expected, that areas surrounding the home may not have been fully canvassed in the way typically seen in high-risk disappearances. And again, none of this proves intent, but it does raise concern, because in cases like this, small decisions early on can have massive consequences later. And at the center of it all remains one figure: the porch guy. Unidentified, unexplained, captured on camera but not yet named. Many believe that person holds the key to everything. But here's the problem: enhanced images have not been fully released. Additional details remain limited, and without more clarity, the public can only speculate, which creates frustration, because the answer may already exist, in pixels, in frames, in data that hasn't been fully revealed. Now, as this case moves closer to 100 days, it's clear that it is still active. Investigators are continuing to work leads, processing DNA,
reviewing surveillance,
tracking digital evidence, following tips, but the pace feels different,
slower,
more methodical, because once the early window is gone, investigations often shift from rapid response to careful reconstruction, and that takes time. So, where does that leave this case? In a place that feels both active and uncertain, because progress is being made, but questions remain about the beginning, about what may have been missed, and about whether those early moments could have changed everything. Because sometimes solving a case isn't just about what you find. It's about what you had the chance to find and didn't. And that reality is what continues to hang over the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Thank you for staying with me and following this case as it continues to unfold. And before you go, don't forget to hit the subscription button, comment your thoughts below, and share this video for updates as the story unfolds. Stay aware, stay informed, and I'll see you next time.